What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to the Versus series. This is the series where I take two similar elements from Black Ops 4, I put them up side by side, have a look at their stats to find out which one is better. In today's episode, we're going to be having a look at the MX-9 versus the GKS. And hopping right into the stats here, both of them will take 5 shots to kill at close range, but at longer ranges, the MX-9 will take 9 shots to kill, whereas the GKS will kill in 8 shots. As for rate of fire, the MX-9 definitely shoots faster at 722 rounds per minute, whereas the GKS is quite slow at 645 rounds per minute. And what this means is not only will the MX-9 have a better time to kill in the ranges where it takes the same number of shots to kill, it's also a more forgiving gun. So if you're missing shots as you're firing at your target, the MX-9 is noticeably more forgiving. On top of that, the MX-9 does have the ability to use rapid fire, which will increase our rate of fire up to 769 rounds per minute, which is another nice bonus over the GKS. This brings us to our statistical minimum time to kill. With the MX-9, we kill in 332 milliseconds in the 5-shot kill range, whereas the GKS will kill in 372 milliseconds in the 5-shot kill range. As for longer ranges, since the GKS kills in 1 fewer shot at those long ranges, it will kill a little bit faster at 651 milliseconds, but that is still painfully slow for a time to kill in this game. You can also see there with the MX-9, obviously, if you use the rapid fire attachment, you can reduce that time to kill even more. Getting into our ranges, as you can see here, quite surprisingly, these guns have the exact same 5-shot kill range. This is a little bit surprising since you would think the GKS has that slower time to kill, it would therefore have a longer range to balance this out, but that's not the case. However, you really start to see the GKS take over in the range department once you get into that 6, 7, and 8-shot kill range. So if we're ignoring all of the other stats and we're just looking at that raw killing potential, from 0 to 25 meters, the MX-9 clearly has the advantage here. Beyond that 25 meters though, this is where the GKS really starts to excel over the MX-9. I also wanted to briefly show the effects of long barrel. For both of these guns, long barrel does not affect our 5-shot kill range, but you can see there it definitely affects the other ranges, and with the GKS especially, you can make it so that you'll pretty much never be able to find that 7 or 8-shot kill range. Also with the GKS, you can use long barrel 2 to increase that 6-shot kill range even further, and even though Tony Flame said that the 5-shot kill range would be increased with the GKS if you're using long barrel 2, based on my testing, that simply isn't true. Moving on to hipfire, as you can see here, the GKS does have a little bit better hipfire than the MX-9, and this does help the GKS a little bit up close. This brings us to recoil, and this is where the GKS really shines over the MX-9. The MX-9 will kick upwards and to the right. It is fairly predictable, fairly controllable, but you will often miss some shots at those mid to somewhat longer ranges. Whereas with the GKS, you are very, very accurate even without attachments, and on top of that, if you're using the Grip 2 attachment, you can practically eliminate the recoil on the GKS. As for our handling and mobility stats, for our aim down sight time, both of these guns aim down sight in a very similar amount of time. The MX-9 is 210 milliseconds, whereas the GKS is 220 milliseconds, so pretty much the same, but the MX-9 is technically very slightly faster. However, with the GKS, we do have the ability to use quick draw, which will cut our aim down sight time down to 150 milliseconds. As for sprint out, once again, the MX-9 has a slight edge here at 225 milliseconds, whereas the GKS is 250 milliseconds. However, if you're using Gung Ho, they're both going to be equal and basically instant. Our movement speed is equal for both of these at 100%, which is very fast. And our aim down sight strafe speed is also equal between these two at 80%, which is great in a gunfight for strafing back and forth. And for the MX-9, we do have the ability to use the stock attachment, which will give us an aim down sight strafe speed of 87.5%, which is a nice bonus on top of that. So overall, when it comes to handling and mobility, both of these guns are very, very similar. However, the MX-9 does have a very slight edge here. Moving on to magazine capacity, the GKS has a few more rounds in the magazine at 38 rounds, whereas the MX-9 has a 35-round base magazine. But with the MX-9, we can use hybrid mags, which will give us a 45-round magazine, and with the GKS, we can use extended mags, which will take our magazine capacity all the way up to 56 rounds, which is really, really high. As for total starting ammo without attachments, it's 105 rounds with the MX-9, and we get a few more with the GKS at 114 rounds. And this just leaves us with reload time. Both of these reload very, very fast, and it's nearly identical, like you can barely even tell the difference in reload time. Technically, the MX-9 is a little bit slower at 1.37 seconds, whereas the GKS will take 1.32 seconds. But with the MX-9, with hybrid magazines, we do reload noticeably faster at 0.97 seconds, so it definitely has better potential in this area. And with that, that wraps it up for the most important stats that I wanted to compare between these two guns. However, we also have to look at the attachment selection for these because that plays a big role in the power of a gun. For the MX-9, some of the highlights here are going to be the stock attachment, which just allows us to strafe a little bit faster in those gunfights, which I will say isn't really necessary for SMGs, but it does give a nice boost to it. Also, rapid fire. With the MX-9, we do have the ability to get that faster fire rate and therefore faster time to kill, whereas with the GKS, there are no attachments that will impact your time to kill at all. Additionally, with the MX-9, we do have access to the high caliber attachment, which does give us the potential to kill in one fewer shot at most ranges, if not all ranges. However, you do have to be more accurate and you have to be landing that headshot, which with the MX-9, unless you're really close, generally that's not the greatest idea to be trying to aim for the head. Also, if we're looking at hardcore modes, this is where FMJ also really comes into play. Against body armor, the MX-9 will always be a one-shot kill with that FMJ, whereas the GKS will now take 2 shots to kill. So that right there is the reason that in hardcore modes at least, I would say the MX-9 is actually the better choice. As for the attachments on the GKS, the big ones here are going to be Grip 1 and Grip 2. With both of these attachments, you basically eliminate flinch as well as recoil, and this thing dominates assault rifles across the map. This is actually one of my favorite long-range guns to use now, just because there's no flinch, practically no recoil, and therefore I can be pinpoint accurate at all ranges. Additionally, with the GKS, we've got extended mags, which gives us a ridiculous magazine capacity. It's basically like an LMG magazine capacity, and we also have quick draw if we want to be able to snap onto targets really fast. So overall, looking at these two guns, the MX-9 definitely has better raw killing potential, especially in the closer range situations. However, when you start getting into those mid to somewhat longer ranges, this is where the GKS really starts to shine. And therefore, obviously, I will say up close, I would be preferring an MX-9, but at range, I would be preferring a GKS. However, that's not really good enough. Overall, if I had to choose between these two SMGs, personally, ever since we got the update that turned SMGs into hit scans, I'm going to go with the GKS, simply because now I feel confident challenging assault rifles and LMGs at longer ranges, but I've got the mobility and handling of an SMG. Plus, with extended mags, I basically get an LMG magazine capacity. I basically get the best of all worlds, aside from a fast time to kill up close. That's the one thing I trade off with the GKS. However, I do feel that since I rarely miss any shots with the GKS, I'm still often winning my gunfights in close range situations where enemies are missing their shots. I think the biggest reason that I am preferring the GKS over the MX-9 currently is due to the fact that you can use both of the grip attachments as well. This means I don't have to worry about flinch, so I'm very confident challenging people at longer ranges. I actually feel that this is better than nearly every assault rifle at long range if you're using both of the grip attachments. And this is actually one of the reasons that I've been using the GKS a ton lately. And the MX-9, I'm really not using all that much. It's not a horrible gun, but I just don't feel like it stands out in any areas, unlike the GKS. But of course, that's just my opinion. I'd like to know in the comment section below, based on all these stats and everything we saw today, as well as based on your personal experiences, which of these two guns do you prefer, the MX-9 or the GKS? Also, if you guys haven't given the GKS a try since that hit scan update from about a week or two ago, definitely give it a go and see how you feel. Make sure you pop on both of those grip attachments, and you just might find one of your new favorite guns. As always, if you guys have missed any of the previous episodes of the Versus series, I will leave a link to the playlist down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.
Yeah.